On this episode of the Casually Human podcast with Martin Kigondu, we have a warm and feeling chat with Shalom Munyiri, an author, speaker, counselling psychologist, and family life coach who mentors children, teens, young adults, and also journeys with parents. She is the director of training at Ritro Group Limited, running life skills and leadership development programs in schools and wellness sessions within the corporate space. She encourages building unity in neighborhoods and workplaces by encouraging interaction and bonding mainly within the home. Shalom was as graceful as she was giving in this conversation, and I trust you'll enjoy it as much as I did. Let's go.
I saw something on my Instagram today, and I'm really hoping my bro is watching this, because there was this character who makes a face, and the face they make it makes a lot of sense when you read the tag at the top. So it's written, the face you make when you realize that your older brother does not have an older brother to rely on. Yeah? And iliniguza mahali. Nilikuwa, yes, let them remember that the firstborns never have someone they can speak to, ama engage with, especially because you almost grow as your parents grow, so the two of you almost in tandem. They're discovering life as you are literally discovering life. And I start here because your latest book, which I have here, I Am Her, at the back describes itself as almost a conversation of an older sibling guiding their younger ones through it. I've just, I've seen snippets of the book in my conversations with Betty, who's actively read in there. She's like, ooh, there is so much juice in here. You should read this, so I will. Yeah. But I'd like to start there. Are there things that, say, within your, Nangia to depend, within your 20s, not assuming you're too far off the arm or too early before there, but in your 20s that you experienced and thought, man, had I an older sibling, probably this would have been easier for me?
Wow. That's a very interesting question. Because I don't think I would have listened to that older sibling if I had an older sibling.
Interesting.
I mean, knowing myself, I probably would not have listened to them, whether, older brother, older sister. However, there may have been, it may have been easy to help. It may have been better, because they will probably have made mistakes that I can learn from.
Exactly.
There is something that they may have done that I could have learned from. But listening to them, track record does not show a good listening ear. But yeah, firstborn suffer, like you're saying.
Yeah.
We don't have that older person to tell us this is the way you should go.
Yeah. Let's talk about your family dynamic now that we're there. The ones beside you, the ones after you. How does that look?
Oh, it's a whole, should I say a whole lot of fun?
Okay.
Right? The ones beside me are who? My siblings.
Yes.
Wildest team ever.
Okay.
My mom was those people who gave birth every year. I think she just breathed in for the last one, and then, So we were born, we call it do re mi fa so.
Okay.
Like 4 of us, year after year after year. And therefore, we all grew up together. Basically taking care of each other, making a mess together, just coming up with all sorts of ideas. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily your model child. And so I was up to a lot of no good, right? And of course, I led them astray. And we had a lot of fun doing that. When it comes to parents, who are now the ones who are above these people who are with me, they were playful. I grew up in a sort of strict home, but with still a lot of fun. So for instance, breaking rules was sort of like allowed if you can pretty much justify why. So that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
And then I gave birth early. In terms of, I was not yet 25. And so I was still young enough to have fun with my kids. And so parenting has just been one hell of a ride.
Yeah.
And then I gave birth to kids who are interesting, wild. The older one is a DJ. The younger one is many things. Yes. Yeah.
No, look at that. Are there things that you notice in your children that you right on know this is me? so many years before?
Are there things or what don't I notice? Yani, as in, I see myself in them a lot.
Okay, good.
A whole lot. There are
Good.
many things.
Yeah.
I'm generally a creative. I've done art, interiors, graphic design, etc. So I'm more on the creative side. And therefore, there's an element of rebellion. And I allowed my children to ask questions when they were growing up. So there are times we go head to head on things because I need to remember that I'm their parent and it's me who's supposed to be setting some guideline, but I give them permission to ask questions. And I was allowed to ask questions and would ask lots of questions. This is how my mom would put it. Have you ever imagined porridge going uphill? Have you ever seen porridge flow uphill? She told me that I would argue with porridge. I have to say it in English. It doesn't sound the same as mother tongue. But she would say that if I'm arguing, I would argue with porridge until it goes uphill, whatever that looks like. And so I see that a lot in them. I see that a lot in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Muganga hajigangi, you know, and the reason I say this is because you help a lot of parents and children navigate that relationship, you know, especially in teenagehood and probably post that.
Yeah.
Are there aspects around parenting that you sort of feel, you know what, this pocket and this pocket, yeah, this is not my bag. Are there pockets that you struggle with when it comes to parenting?
No, I don't struggle. I think probably that's why who I am or who I grew up as set me up for that space. Because parenting is quite a challenging journey, right? And so, because I wasn't the model kid, and yet I was raised to be the model kid. My parents were church people. I grew up in church and all. I mean, so I knew what was right. I just didn't do it all the time. So I think navigating the parenting space, I'm able to empathize with the child, regardless of what they're going through. I'm able to empathize with the kid who's actually dying to be obedient, the compliant child, and I'm able to totally understand the rebellious one. So I don't struggle in that space. And then I think the other advantage I have is that my children are now young adults. So I have parented for almost 30 years, right? And so there's lots of lessons and things that I have enjoyed along the way and learned. Okay. Mistakes also that I have made, right? So sharing as far as parenting is concerned, it's not a struggle.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's such a good flex. That is really a good flex. I like that you've mentioned that they are now young adults, yeah? What about your first few years? In fact, let's talk about your first child, the first 3 years. How was that for you, especially now that you're in your mid-20s? How was that for you?
There's somebody in the audience who would be able to tell the real story.
Yeah.
Because she was part of the adventure. But that's what it was, an adventure. So let's start with, how did I even get that first child? I got it out of an act of rebellion against my mom. Therefore, when I got the baby, my mom was not part of my support team. She was the biological grandmother, end of story. And so I didn't have anybody to actually tell me, this is how to raise a child. So I remember looking at this kid and thinking, you don't have any other mother to compare me with. Therefore, everything I do will be okay. Until you find somebody else who can actually show you that it's wrong. So we had an adventure. I'm the mom who used to go out with my child without anything. They would drink off bottles of water like this. You remember the pipette theory? The pipette thing in, I don't know, it was physics, some lab in high school, where you pull up something with a straw, then you block it. And then when you release, that's how I introduced my child to soda. I would sip it off my glass, hold it, and then empty it into their mouth. They ate chips. So my child did not grow up eating baby food and things because who was there to tell me about the nutritional value of stuff? So we grew up together.
Yeah.
We did things together. We had lots of parties. I remember we did a lot of partying. He actually says that the reason, one of the contributing factors to him being a DJ is because of the parties that he experienced from when he was young. He could sleep through loud music from as early as whatever. And then parenting also, I learned from Cosmopolitan. Those many years ago, there weren't active parenting classes. So again, nowhere to learn parenting. Remember, I've said it's an act of rebellion against my mom, meaning church was also out of the story. So his first few years were fully free gear. Let's go where the wind blows us. We shall manage as long as none of us dies in the process. Yeah. So I learned along the way.
And look at that. You learned all this from Cosmopolitan.
And the world.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
I'm curious about the same experience, around the same time for your second child. But even before we get there, how's your mental state, those first few years, especially knowing that your mother is not now as directly supportive? Are you conscious of even mental health?
Oh, absolutely not. Mental health was not a big deal then. Therefore, if I was to check, I would only analyze it from now, from knowing what I know now. Then I can analyze what my mental health may have been like. Was there a lot of crying? Yes. Regrets here and there. Loneliness? Yes. Because also none of my friends really had gotten babies then. So everybody is single and living it up, and I have to be home breastfeeding and doing things like that. So I must say, yes, my mental health may have had something up with it. However, again, based on when we were born, I think our resilience was a bit better than we have it now. So I somehow survived. Then if we tie into the fact that I wasn't necessarily a model child, my mom being upset with me was whatever. So I wasn't necessarily feeling it the way I would feel it knowing the things that I know now.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, which is why now it's easy to advise a young person trying to get into that path, because it wasn't necessarily easy.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Yeah.
Remember what you asked me about my siblings? My siblings were the babysitters. So that support system must have played a very good role in me surviving mentally and psychologically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's at least, know, and I know the same because my mother's story is almost similar in some ways. I definitely didn't end up a DJ, but, not too far from it.
Here you are, yeah.
Okay, the second child. Are you now a little more prepared? And even when the child comes, are you now more, well, at least I won't give them soda. Do you have the lessons to back you up? Are you conscious of these things?
Yes, but also old enough to decide what to choose, and still shalom enough to decide to still have fun doing it. So I was older. There's a 6-year gap between them.
Okay.
So definitely a lot older, a lot more experienced, a lot wiser, but still had the same fun. So the main difference, I would say, when the first one was born, I wasn't driving around as much. The second one, I was driving around a lot. So she got to ride in the car seat and go everywhere with me. He got to ride in matatus and go everywhere with me. So those are similarities, but with a difference. When it comes to eating, she ate a lot healthier, for sure. She ate a lot healthier. Like she ate pumpkin, and my son never had pumpkin. And so dietary, yes, that was fine. Church-wise, now I had started going to church. I started going to church when my son was 2 years old. So by that time, I belonged to a community, so I had better support systems.
Good.
And when he was about 5, I started attending parenting classes.
Okay.
No, the one parenting classes, there was Sunday school. I was volunteering in Sunday school.
Okay.
So I used to attend training sessions. So I knew a lot more about child development, what to do with children. We used to guide parents. So my second one got a more professional parent than my first one.
I like that.
Yeah, so there were a few differences.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I especially like that because the next question could be either before the two experiences or after that. And I think it's a smart enough position for us to have our drink.
Okay.
All
right.
And lest you forget, remember this episode of the Casually Human podcast with Martin Kigondu is brought to you by Sugar Bowl. Sugar Bowl is a casual, full-service dining restaurant featuring an inviting indoor and outdoor space with fresh and pretentious ambience with warm colors. perfect for intimate dinners, business meetings, and social gatherings. Their menu is strongly based off a continental cuisine, enhanced with Mediterranean and Italian influences. So, hey, go, visit, dine, take your meetings, take your dates, birthdays, and so on to Sugar Bowl already. They are conveniently located at the Shell petrol station in Spring Valley. Ni hapa tu, Lower Kabete. Again, go check them out, have a good time, and tell them Sugar Bowl came highly recommended by Martin Kigondu from the Casually Human podcast. Aye, let's get back into the convo.
I like that you have now underlined the shalom that is and the difference between the first child and the second.
Yeah.
So my curiosity leads me to who, by at least your first child, you thought you were. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So let us take it years before. Are you looking forward to a particular career? How are you doing in school? How is it now receiving siblings after you? What's that experience?
Maybe the easier way for me to tell it is sort of like
Chronologically,
right?
No problem.
Having the siblings being born after me, my brother was very different from me. I mean, he was much, much lighter. So I was sort of afraid of him. When my sister came, she suffered a lot more because she was more like me. I was slightly older. I was about 2 years old. So I could do things that would hurt her, right? Just that, what's it called? Children disliking having other people taking their attention. By the time the last born was born, I had settled into this firstborn role, just doing what has to be done. So that was not too much of a problem. Then now we grew up, together. As far as career is concerned, I started doing art from as early as I can remember, just drawing and teaching. So my mom knew I would be a teacher. I knew I'd do something in art. And so I started, drawing. Then I wanted to do interior design. My dad made some gamble that made him lose money. He didn't believe in Harambes. And so I ended up doing a graphic design course locally.
Okay.
And so everything was going to be along the design space. And that's the trajectory I sort of took.
Okay.
Up until doing a diploma in graphic design.
Okay.
Yes.
So you mentioned two feelings I'd like to underline.
Yeah.
But where is this? Mostly in Nairobi, ama you grew
All
up?
in Nairobi.
All in Nairobi.
All in Nairobi.
Oh, look at
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay. You mentioned the word fear in regards to your sibling and another emotion with the other one and the word suffering in there.
Yeah.
Were you old enough to realize these things as deeply, or is it now in retrospect that you're like, this is what it was?
It is a translation of what people say.
Okay.
So I refuse to do anything with him. Like how people can get excited about a baby?
Yeah.
I used to say he's a Mzungu's child.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So he was not like me. And I think that's something I can say, knowing what I know now. I'm now a psychologist. So knowing what I know now, that is an early on recognition of they are not like me. Like seeing the differences between us. Now, when it came to my younger sister, of course, as a firstborn, and I've given a sort of hint as to who I was, I got beaten a lot. So I was angry as a child. And I remember there's many incidences I've been told, stories of that anger coming out. And I know that my sister, the thirdborn, is the one of the people who got the brunt of that anger. It's dropping her because I can. It's hitting her because I can. Things like those. So it's a combination of hearing the stories and then understanding what that must have been.
Yeah.
Having done child psychology.
And as a psychologist, what would you say made you be that? The unkindness and these choices.
I think if I, quote unquote, psychoanalyze it, we've got to look at what my parents were going through before I was born.
Okay.
And then the fact that I'm barely 1 and some months when a second baby comes into play. So therefore, I'm ignored. This is a typical African home where there's not much help. My mom had probably whatever frustrations she had. So it was not necessarily an easy space to be born into. And as a child, you pick up on those things. Without quite knowing what you're doing, you pick up on them. And probably that made me act out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And to remedy that, and you saw a child who's almost you in the present, what would you advise the parent and what would you advise the child?
It's very hard to advise a child that age.
Okay.
So it's a parent who's supposed to do what they need to do to accommodate the child. So remember I told you that I had a lot of fun growing up with the adventure. The thing that balanced it off was the playfulness of my parents. So if they had played more and tried to understand who I am, just by my, I don't even want to call it temperament, just who I was as a child, as opposed to trying to mold me into something that fits a good child, then probably it would have been easier for me, right? Let me give you an example. One time we'd go to people's houses and they have carpets, and we didn't have a carpet. So one day they left us home, and I took tissue paper, and I hit it, it rolled, got to the other end, I cut it, it rolls. So my mom came and found almost all her toilet paper had been spread across the living room floor. When she asked me, what's this? I said, it's a carpet. Now, she beat me instead of appreciating my creativity and sort of like giving me one warning not to do it. In nursery school, I would steal children's brick and then put in caterpillars. So if the child starts crying, I'll say it's the caterpillar that ate it, not me. And instead of nurturing that, it was beaten down. It was taken as being mischievous, as opposed to trying to understand how is that my brain is thinking that gets me doing stuff like that. And so fast forward many years later, I got an opportunity to be a kindergarten teacher. And there's this child who everybody was going down for break. We all went down together. Then this one child went back upstairs. And I just told I was an assistant teacher. So I told the main teacher, I'm going up with this kid because I think they're up to no good. And sure enough, the kid had gone up to the class to steal break from other children. So knowing my story, what I did with this child is first and foremost stop them. And then when the kids came back, I told her, please ask for permission. Ask for permission to eat. Nobody will refuse to share with you, so just ask. So she got a chance to ask, and she got the break. And then I met her parents after. I told them, your child is risking being a petty thief because you're only giving her healthy snacks. This kid used to be packed for maize, boiled maize, as break. And other children, 4-year-olds, are getting crisps and biscuits and whatever. Crisps and biscuits won't kill a child if you give them once in a while. And so talk to the parents. The parents changed this child's break, and they started alternating. They would put the healthy together with a bit of junk food. And that became easy for the child. So that's how I would balance it. That's what I would tell a parent. I actually had an opportunity to do that to another child.
Yeah, that's full circle in a way.
Full circle, yes.
Okay, that's so directing almost very obviously to the nature-nurture question. What do you think is heavier, especially when it comes to personality? Because you clearly had a strong personality since that age, but do you think this is a thing you were born with, or it's just circumstances that, you know, your home made up?
I think at the beginning, nature and nurture kind of like work together. But how to correct nature is through nurture.
Okay.
Right? So nurture can end up being a big thing. Like you can be naturally one way, but then you train or are trained by life and people and mentors, you know, wiser people to be a certain, that's where the nurturing comes in. So yeah, I'd say none is stronger than the other.
Okay.
It works, yeah.
What about influence of personality, i.e., pregnancy, during pregnancy?
Yes.
Are there things that we end up doing as parents that sort of take our child in a certain trajectory? Or is there a way to influence who the child is even before they join us on this side?
I think there is, because that thing that they say about if mama's not happy, nobody's happy, I think it starts in utero. Because we have children who are born anxious, and if you actually check their parents, their moms especially were anxious. So this thing that, I know it looks Western, but this thing that people do about talking to the baby when they're in the mom's womb, I think is helpful.
Okay.
The mother's mental state when she's expecting is also useful. Like that needs to be managed. And I think historically, the villages were set up in a way that would help that happen. Nurture the baby before they're actually
The
born.
actual birth, yeah.
Right? Now, you'll find, again, you can check, if you look at different, like for us, the different siblings that we are, my mom was a different mom to each and every one of us. Mentally, physically, socially, she was a different mom every time. So it's also understanding that you will be different with every child, but love them each. Not the same, but love them each in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
As
you can start from there.
Okay.
So now the other people who are not pregnant need to talk to the child because they recognize these sounds. They recognize it because sound is a vibration. They recognize them as they go, right? And as they're growing. And so I think once they're born, their siblings' voices will be familiar. Their father's voice will be familiar. Their mother's voice will be familiar. Stuff like that. I danced a lot when I was expecting.
Okay.
Again, being a young mom, pregnancy was not a challenge. So did a lot of dancing and everything else. So I'm not surprised when my children are party animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started before they came.
It started before they came.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now let's take it back to your story, especially the career path.
Yeah.
At what point do you notice that you're actually good with sentences and words and expressing yourself in this way? Are you good at basic composition?
No.
How is that for you?
That was nurture.
Okay.
My mom was a teacher. There was a rule when we were growing up. Every Saturday morning, you had to write an insha and a composition, and then you do chores. So you wake up, you write an insha, you write a composition. That's 40 minutes. Then you do house chores, and then you can do whatever else, whether it's playing or homework, right? So I started writing as soon as I could write. I found notes that I wrote to my dad when I was like 6, 7 years old, I think.
Okay.
Writing notes to him, reporting my siblings, because my dad would be out of home a bit. So I started writing from as early as I was allowed to write.
Okay.
And so kept writing. Yeah, so it's in high school, one particular composition that I wrote in high school that got me interrogated, that made me realize I can write, I'm imaginative even with my words.
Okay.
And then I didn't do anything about it until much later in life.
Later in life.
Yes.
What was the composition about?
It was, oh gosh, the title was Me, Pregnant.
Okay.
It was about abortions.
Ooh.
I grew up in an estate where we used to find aborted fetuses as kids running around the estate in different spaces. And so we would talk about different types of abortion from when we were young with my playmates, right? And so that was one where the story was basically of somebody who has discovered that they're pregnant. And so they're thinking about which will be the best way to actually get rid of this child. Yeah, so they called me and they thought I was actually pregnant and planning an abortion.
You're writing, are you thinking of the repercussions, or you're just creating? This is your canvas and you're painting.
One of the things I knew is that nobody else was going to dare write such a composition. Yeah, so I knew it would be different. Yeah, not consequences or repercussions. I knew that nobody will write. When you're told to write something imaginative, I knew that nobody will write that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay. What about the psychology path? Where does that come in? Is it a choice that you make? This is the path I'll take?
No.
Okay. How does that come into being?
I landed there by accident, or I guess as a consequence of. I used to teach Sunday school.
Yes.
In the process of teaching Sunday school, I started running camps. So I was a camp director for quite a number of years.
Okay.
While doing that, there's lots of overlaps, right? I've been a very restless person in terms of trying out new things every so often. So I started running. Let me backtrack a little bit. When my children were in school, I didn't believe in tuition. I believed that the hours that are set by the school system should be enough to actually teach a child. So I'd refuse mine to go for tuition or remedial classes and things like that. And so at some point, my daughter was doing well and she wasn't doing any of that, holiday classes and things. And so their school asked me, what are you doing? And I said, this is how I parent. This is what I'm doing. And they invited me to their school to do something similar for the children. So I started running an art club. Now, art club was not necessarily just to teach them art. I was teaching life skills through art. Then remember the camp director experience that I had? I started running holiday camps.
Okay.
So now when combining those, that school in particular said that they would like me to talk to their parents, just to have a conversation. And so I went to talk to their parents. Now, those parents are the ones who called me a psychologist. But two things were happening. When children would come for camp and I teach them life skills, it was having psychological effects. A 4-year-old comes, they're throwing tantrums, they go back home, they're able to speak instead of just crying and throwing the tantrum. And so they asked me, what are you doing with a child? I said, this is what I'm doing. And so they started calling me psychologist or counselor, and then trying to hire me to do therapy for them and their families. Now, I don't like the quack business, so I actually went back to school to study psychology.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So at some point, it then became a choice.
It became a choice.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that. What's the biggest discovery that you make after studying it? There's a lot of enlightenment that comes, because now you study people who've been there, who've done it, and the structure to it. But what's the most profound discovery that you made when you're studying for it?
I think the most profound was how big of a mess I was, right? Psychology helped me as a person, first and foremost, before anybody else. Yeah. So the most profound thing was how much I personally needed help, like throughout life, and even up to then. The decision-making process, like the whole, whatever was guiding me was off kilter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you, what's the word? It's definitely not moan. Were you pained by that?
No, because my lecturers were just amazing people.
Okay.
Because they helped us understand that part. They helped us understand that you may do psychology for other people, but you need to engage with it yourself. Right? And I'm not even saying the Haji thing.
Yeah.
It's understanding that you also are a human,
Yeah, you're human.
with a human psyche that has been affected by your family of origin, by your nature, your upbringing, the environment. Understand that. So then for you to be able to help somebody else, you have to be willing to accept the help yourself. So of course, it's mandatory to do therapy. So we did therapy, but it is accepting and understanding that this could actually affect your clients that now puts you on the path of healing. So I didn't moan, I didn't regret. Why? One of the things they explained is that nothing happens for nothing. Because it was also a Christian university, by the way. And so there's that element of what's God's role in this? And so if God created me as I was and allowed me to be who I am, then somebody might benefit from this, right? So why mourn?
Yeah.
It's part of the amazing puzzle that God actually uses with our lives. So we moved on. Do I regret some actions? Of course, yes. There's things that I think I did that I shouldn't have done, but not to the point of feeling that bad about it. It's picking up the lesson and seeing how can this help somebody else.
Yeah, using it as ammunition.
Yes.
Technically.
Yeah.
So I love that we've merged at least 3 of the things you do. At least 2 out of the 3 I have in mind. We've seen the writing part, at least the bloomings of it. We've seen the psychology part. Let's talk about faith as well, especially because so far in the story, in this conversation, we've met the rebellious side, we've met the young mom, but we've also met the kindergarten teacher, the Sunday school teacher. At what point do you go, it is time to make a homecoming back to church and faith? Is that a conscious decision? It's going with the flow? How do you end up back in church actively?
I think the only thing I've ever done in my life that was intentional was parenting. Everything else has been going with the flow.
Okay.
Right? So even even getting back to church. So when my son was 2, I went back home for a bit in terms of living with my parents, right? I broke up with the dad, went back home for a bit. And my dad made a comment and said, I brought you up in church, bring up this child in church. And so that's how I ended up going back to church. I had stayed a number of years out. And because I didn't like church, I wasn't interested in church, what I did was sit with him in his class, right?
Okay.
With my son in his class.
Okay.
Because I'm taking care of him. At some point, he got tired of his mother, and he kicked me out of the class.
Okay.
So I went now back to the lower class, and I just sat. Because I like art, I volunteered to help them do the coloring. And so all I would do is color with them, just help them color, sharpen, help them sing songs, just play. Because I didn't want to attend the main
big
church,
yeah.
right? Somewhere along the way, I think even just getting back to faith was one of those interesting, a series of events. I don't want to call them unfortunate events, but it's just a series of events where we went for some training, leadership development thing. I left my car. I usually drive myself everywhere. So that day, for whatever reason, I left my car, got into the bus with everybody else, and he's called Pastor Simon Bevy. He's the one who came and asked me, so everybody will go to heaven and leave you out. That's how I got born again.
Okay.
Really. And then now from there, having grown up in church, plugging in was easy. So the flow now continued.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I continued volunteering. I continued doing all that I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Now I see the merger of the three. Asante sana. So soon enough, we see you speaking and leading, and there's a growth there. Yeah. So I'm curious about that growth and how you end up now doing more and more of this. Yeah. But yes, I cannot ignore that. So karibu sana.
Asante. I will ignore it.
You will? Oh, okay. All good. When you're ready, jump in.
Yes, I was
When you're ready, jump in.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is this sort of transitional period. Yeah. And we now start attaching the word speaker as one of your titles. So when do you start speaking? Because you now have all this different information from your learnings. Yeah. So far in life. At what point do you go, yes, I can conversantly speak on this. And how does that open up for you?
Wow. My volunteering in church started from now being that Sunday school teacher to, it's a thing with firstborns who are brought up being punished for other people's mistakes. You see mistakes, right? So I got a role in church, and they called it quality assurance.
Okay. Which church is this?
Mavuno.
Okay.
And so that role called quality assurance meant that I'm basically walking around to make sure that everything is running according to plan. And that got me into the space of seeing how families come, how they live, how children engage, how teachers are doing their thing, almost like a bird's eye view of how the whole space is running. So somewhere along the way, I ended up getting hired. I was an interior designer at some point for a period of like 10 years.
Okay.
And then that business crashed in a mighty way, right? And so after that, I took a bit of a hiatus, and then the church employed me. Now, employed me as a head of a department, some age group. And not head of a department, but head of a small section. Then after that, I became head of the department. Now, as the head of the department, because I had deliverables, I sat back to think, how can I deliver? In life, again, back to all the many transitions and the many things that I have tried to do, I have done business training. I have done leadership training. I have done all of that stuff. So I found myself in a position to apply all of those things. So one, I started training the people who are working, reporting to me. Secondly, for us to succeed, we needed to talk to the parents. So I started talking to my captive audience, the parents of the children who are coming to church. And church, the children's department just blossomed. So again, I love learning. I love learning from different people, just talking to guys and just learning something from them. I met this guy called Anthony Gitonga. He's also an author, speaker, and a trainer in terms of leadership development. And so one time when talking with him, he encouraged me to speak at a conference. And Mavuno was hosting an international conference called the Fearless Summit, right? And so I volunteered. Can I actually run a workshop? Can I do something? And they told me, yeah. And so I prepared a workshop and I spoke on parenting. Now, my book was not yet out. My first book was not yet out. And so when speaking, there's a guy I was working with called Mark, who told me, why don't you take all these things that you're telling parents, put it together, and give it to them to go home with? And that's what we did. I started now from that time, anything I would talk about, I would actually write it down. Previously, I would write notes on a notebook and then talk, and that's it. This time, I started typing everything in. And so I had the content. So after that first conference, I talked to Anthony Gitonga. I wasn't paid for it, nothing, but he was making money. So I asked him, do you get paid for these things? He said, not all the time. So how do you make money? How does it make sense? He told me, please make sure you keep talking and have a book. So as soon as that conference was over, I volunteered to run another workshop in the next conference. And Anthony had a book he's written. I love that book. It's called Productive Execution. I took that book and I went and read and tried to apply. It's not just about writing books. It's about just being productive and executing on the thing that you commit to doing. And so that now started my journey. Then coincidences. I mean, I think God just drops things whenever. One time I'm hosting guys in my house. Mark comes with a book, and the title of the book is How to Write a Lot. It's called How to Write a Lot. And so I take the book, and it has a short formula for writing. I said, okay, fine, let me try this thing out. And so I tried it. And what it said is, pick a particular period of time that you're going to write, and do that every day or 2 times a week. And I thought, I'm not writing that much, so let me do it 2 times a week. I picked 2 days of the week. I would write from 6 to 8, stop. Skip 1 day, go to the other day, 6 to 8, stop. Of course, when having conversations, you will tell people what you're doing. I told a friend, I'm writing a book. And she says, oh, okay, when are you publishing it? I said, I don't know, I'm just writing a book. She had a conference in February. She gave me money and said, here is the deposit for your book. Launch it in February at my conference. Yeah. Then she went on and said, if you use even 100 shillings of this money to buy milk, you will cast the money.
Yeah.
We were still together with her. It was 20,000 shillings. I called the printer. I told him, I'm sending you money. We'll figure out what we're going to be doing with this money, but it's for printing a book. My book didn't have a title. This was October. My book didn't have a title. I didn't know where I was going with it. It was going to be a book. Long story short, February, I had the book ready. But now what happened is that in August, when I did the next summit, between February and August, I had sold out my books enough times. Because what would happen is I'd go speak, and then whatever I speak about, I say, here is more information. So the parenting space now picked up like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is how you also ended up in that niche.
Yes.
Look at that. Oh,
Many things.
This is so exciting. Right? Ama, it's just me. Because at times, hata mi huambia time imepita na sisikizi because I'm so in the conversation.
Just bring up.
There are a few things that I earmarked and I'd like to come back to. And I'd like to underline the words feelings and emotions, particularly in the negative spectrum. So the interior design gig, you do it for the longest time, the biashara crumbles. A relationship, loved, lost, yeah? How would you walk someone out of these spaces? Because you've been there, you've felt heartbreak, you've survived it, you've tried again, right? You've felt heartbreak even from the biashara side, and you've survived it, and there was a new lease, if not a new direction altogether. So say I'm seated as I am, opposite you, and I'm in this place I feel is a crisis, and it feels really clouded. How would you advise for me to walk it past this season?
I think, first and foremost, it's really, really important that you allow yourself to cry. And I don't just mean cry tears. I mean cry even from the gut. You know that thing that's just feel the feels, feel as bad as you need to feel when that thing has ended. I think for me, the break in the relationship where I went back to stay with my parents was just a 7-month period, and I went back to the guy.
Okay.
Right? And so still live with him until now. So that was not as heartbreaking. The business is the one that was the most heartbreaking, because it ended just when it was about to get out of the woods. It had been such a struggle and then just died, right? And so first you must give yourself permission to cry. But something else that happens before the heartbreak is a support system. If you're not building connections and having good relationships with people outside of trouble, you will really be alone during trouble. So one of the things that has really helped me, I thank God for that, is having friends who are my friends, regardless of what I had, who I was, what I was doing, how things were going. There were people I could depend on, right? And so when I crash, at least I know I have 5-10 minutes I can have with somebody where we can talk about something else, right? So that's one. Second thing that you need to do is know how to ask for help. Because it got to a point, so now when my design business crashed, the first person I was angry at was God. Because I asked, why would you give me such a skill just for it to go down the drain? Please note, that was me not taking responsibility at all for my role in the crashing of the business.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know I did a lot that crashed the business. There's so many things I did that were not right for it to crash. But for me, I was asking God, why would you give me a skill that is so good and then the business crashes? So it's your fault, not mine.
Yeah.
And so, again, because of, being a believer, I said, okay, fine. I can't get angry at God for too long, right? So I said, okay, this thing that you gave me, I'll never do it again for money. I'm giving it away for free. And I went on a spree of doing interiors for free. Anybody who wanted, I would do it. I did schools, I did hospitals, I did hotels, anybody who asked, I would do it, and I didn't want to be paid. That's one. Secondly, I started teaching women in Kibera. Again, volunteering my space. So maybe that's point number 3 of what to do when you're in trouble. Volunteer. Just stop looking inside yourself and just look at other people, right? So just start doing things for other people, with other people. So Kibera, I trained women in Kibera on all of these skills because I'm good with my hands. And so would teach them a lot of these interior type of skills, right? Trained women in Kiambu, lots and lots of them. So that got me back again to that teacher thing. So I'm teaching, I'm training, I'm speaking, I'm using that skill, and it's benefiting somebody else. So what would happen is a woman, Mama Fua, would get paid something like maybe 200 bob a day at that time for washing clothes, 300, 400. When she became a painter or a mason or is doing carpentry, is working in the construction industry, they would get 1,000 shillings a day. So somebody was benefiting. They started learning how to create stuff, crafts, and actually sell them, home decor, and sell them. So that added value to them. Now, when I see it adding value to them, then my Christian self can come and say, God, at least maybe this is what the skill was for.
Yeah.
And so I start slowly feeling better about myself. Then that's when the overlap of the church came, where I'm free, so give me something to do.
Yeah,
The lady who was running that place had gone on maternity leave, so they put me there. Then at some point, they said, okay, fine, you can do this other one. So they went overlapping. Then the author thing came, found me still working in church, but now I'm an author. And then I'm speaking. So I do that on my free days,
Yeah.
So it picked like that. So if you're in a rut, before you're in a rut, build a support system. Once you're in the rut, cry. After you have cried, ask for help. And besides asking for help, give. Just focus outwards to other people.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look without. I'll definitely take that.
Yeah.
As we're coming closer and closer to the conclusion of our conversation, a few questions come to mind. The first one being, you're now a few books in, yeah? Book number 3, if not 4.
4.
Yeah? Book number 4. We are speaking, we are teaching, we are guiding, we are consulting a lot. This is what we see from the outside. How are you now? How are you? Are you happy?
A lot more settled for sure.
That's good.
A lot more settled.
Yeah. How are the kids? How's the family?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't call my home an empty nest. I call it a helipad.
Hey.
Right?
Okay.
Because an empty nest means what? That there's no more life coming out of it. But my home is the base for young people. They come, sleep over, they're running away from home, they come, you know, let's have a nice crying thing and leave, whatever. So I'm in the space where I can do anything I want with my time. I can go anywhere I want. I mean, basically, there's that freedom. So I love the fact that, okay, back again to what was my mental space at 23 when I got my son. The things that I wish I could have done then, I'm able to do them now with the money. You know, then I was still broke. I'm able to do them now with the money and with everything else. So there's a freedom that comes with it. And then again, because of that life that I have lived, it's not about me. So I give a lot. I give where I can. With all this experience and everything else, I'll give where I can. So supporting people in different ways. So I'm in a very good place.
That's good.
Yes, I'm actually quite content.
Yeah? That's really good.
Yeah, looking forward to another 50 years. I'm over 50 now, and
Hey.
so, yeah.
Hey, would you tell?
Over
No,
50.
you wouldn't tell.
So looking forward to the 100.
Yeah, yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's going to be an adventure.
Here for all of it. I like that your home is a helipad, like you said. And I'm guessing that you're interacting with a lot of young people, especially because of work.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Yeah? What would you say, especially for, say, a parent who has a Gen Z, or even younger than that? What do you feel is the most misunderstood thing, according to the child, from the parents, from the child's perspective?
Who is misunderstanding who?
The parent misunderstanding the child.
Oh.
Yeah. What is the parent getting wrong, technically?
I think the first thing parents are getting wrong is that they think that this is them. That's a totally different generation. You know nothing, right? Like,
They literally said it. We are not our mothers.
and they aren't.
They did.
I mean, like newsflash, sorry, they're not. Their mothers may have grown up in a space where, so like now our parents, mine didn't, but our parents were the ones who raised us to take care of them. And therefore, their identity was around their children. They were proud to be called Mama Nani, right? I don't call people Mama so-and-so. I call people by their names. Because the biggest problems parents have is that they don't have an identity outside parent title. And so everything this Gen Z or younger kid is doing, they feel as though it's reflecting on them. So they don't even equip them to live their own lives. They want them to live a life that is palatable to my image. You know, this is how people think of me, and what are you showing people? What are you making people think about me, right? So what's the misunderstanding? This younger generation is not you. You brought them to this earth. You raised them. You didn't kill them. Great. They are not you. Become a student of your offspring, and you will learn amazing things.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the courage, the courage that they have is courage that we were never allowed to have, right? Imagine, learn from them. You will dare to do more things. You will live a more fulfilled life, right? If you actually dare. Now, does that mean that you're irrelevant? No. There's lots of wisdom and experience that you have. But what I've learned with working with young people, and I think this is something that's universally true, you need to earn permission. You need to earn the right for them to ask you for your opinion. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. Like, if all I do is command, they will not be interested in my opinion. So my wisdom will stay within me. If I build a relationship with them, I get to know them. I get to understand what's making them tick, right? What will happen is they will ask me,
They will.
what do you think of this and the other? My father tried to stop my children from hitting the streets, right, during the protests. And he told them, he tried to bring in the God thing and said,
Yeah.
he said, I do not want my children to die on the streets. And they turned back to him and said, what if God raised us for such a time as this? First, they're quoting the Bible on him, a phrase in the Bible, saying, what if, right? Why don't you go and, in a nutshell, when the conversation continues, why don't you go and ask God what he wants for us instead of telling us what you want? And if we actually got there with the younger generation, imagine the world will be a better place. Because what we have has value, but so do what they have. Yeah. So I'd say study your young person.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn.
Such a good lesson. Such a good lesson. Ladies and gentlemen, what a graceful guest, right? Yeah. Kwanza Gen Zs walikuwa hapa tu. Thank you so much for your time.
Asante.
And to 50 more, right?
250 more.
250 more.
And then 50 after that.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Ladies and gentlemen, Shalom Munyiri.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was cool.
Yes.
That was really good. Asante
Please
sana. I can be a dance.
Sawa.
Thank you. We'll take a few photos.
All right.
And that's it. Asanteni sana, ladies and gents.
On your next visit to Sugar Bowl, treat yourself to soul cleansing and heavenly dishes and drinks, and be sure to plug this hidden gem, aka Sugar Bowl, Loa Kabete, to a loved one, and underline that the only answer to the invitation is yes. For Kigondu says, good things happen when you say yes, so wink wink. And that's it for this episode of the Casually Human podcast with Martin Kigondu. Until next time, stay dope out there. You can recommend us to your friends, family, and follow us on Spotify, on the socials, and definitely on the YouTube. As for me, I'm at Kigondu on all different social media platforms. That is at KIGONDUW. And as a podcast, we are at casually_human_pod on IG, on X, TikTok, and everywhere you look for us. Until next time, peace.